This is a short one like me. Dudes with Brews on the Porch presents Michael Brews.
Dude. Talking to Matt. Now, Matt, are you the creator of Hop Passport? Is that the deal here?
Yes, I sure am.
Okay, so Hop Passport, something that I just kindly discovered on Instagram, a pretty cool thing. You team up, it seems like, with breweries across different states, give them kind of deals, kind of a reason to go check out these independent breweries, microbreweries, I should say. Kind of give us the history of this, how it all started, why you chose to do it.
Okay, so back in February of 2017, I had a brewery passport and just kind of fell in love with the concept. I live in Minnesota. I'm from Tennessee, and I started using it. Just fell in love with the concept and started looking to other things. And there's a couple different in Minnesota. There's a couple different passport companies. They all do the different things. But as I travel, or I used to travel a lot for a marketing company I worked with, and I would go to Arizona, I'd go to see family in Colorado, and there wasn't anything like that in these other states, and being from Tennessee. And so I decided to do a multi-state passport, and each state has their own, but just make it one similar brand. So you didn't have to dig and try to find, which passport is for this state or what company's in this one. It could just be one universal brand for eventually try to get as many states as I can. Unfortunately, there's some laws in some states I found out that it'll be impossible for VN, but yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sweet, man. Yeah, and I definitely saw the Wisconsin one, and I was looking down the list, and I'm pretty familiar with a lot of them, and I actually checked out one the other day that was on the passport, and I really enjoyed it. And for me, it gives me a reason to kind of go out a little bit more and kind of experience it. Of course, I'm a pretty big craft beer type of guy, so I'm pretty thrilled about it and pretty excited about it. I do have some family in Minnesota too that would be probably definitely interested in it as well. And it's a pretty big thing in Minnesota, if I seem to be correct. Where are you in the Minneapolis area?
Yeah, I'm in northeast Minneapolis. Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot of good breweries in that area. You got Fair State and Indeed and Social Cider Works, all in that. There's over 10 breweries in that one little area.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. My aunt lives in a suburb of Minneapolis. There's one pretty close to where she lives called Omni Brewing. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
Yeah. They were on board for 2018 and come back on for 19. I was there a couple weeks ago for a friend's birthday.
Nice. So when you approach these breweries, how do you kind of pick the ones you just kind of send out a mass email, or are these the ones that you've all have kind of personally experienced? I guess in Minnesota, it'd be it's different in other states. I'm sure you're not going to Wisconsin and hitting up 48 breweries individually, but how do you kind of reach out to these people, and how do you pick the breweries you try to get on here?
I give everyone a fair chance. I don't discriminate. I just email them all and see who wants to come on board. And I'd love to have them all, but one, I can't put them all in the book. It'd be impossible. Colorado, I'm partnered with 78 breweries in that state, and I threw in a couple extras for as guest breweries. As you notice in every single Hop Passport, right, for each state, there's guest breweries just in case you do travel to, if you're in Wisconsin, if you go to, if you're a Packer fan, you go to a Vikings game, there's one in Minneapolis, or, if you go to Florida, a sunny beach, there's probably one in California or Florida for you. But yeah, I ask them all, and, not every brewery is, would probably need my help. There's some in Minneapolis that are crazy busy,
right,
that, don't need my help, but, there's a lot in smaller towns or new ones that opened up. And, there's some I'm partnered with that are still not even open in some of the states. One that comes to mind is in Duluth, Wild State Cidery. We got a cidery. They're the only cider we're partnered with for next year. we're also partnered with a meadery in
Nice.
in Georgia, which is pretty cool. But with the whole brewery boom is, a lot of people are jumping on board, and it's a lot of craft beer guys who make home brew that can make good beer.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened, like, unfortunately, a lot of times, and there's actually 3 breweries that I put in our passports that are actually closed. They shut down, and I just feel like a lot of these home brewer guys, they ended up, starting this business, but don't know how to run a business.
Right. I think
And
that
they don't get anyone on board that can run it, with that expertise.
Yeah, I know a handful of home brewers, and one of them has even like won awards and everything like that. And it's something that I've really would love to do is open up my own brewery, especially in the city I live in. I live in a place called Fond du Lac, about an hour north of Milwaukee, and it's kind of like we're like an hour away from all the big cities, so we're an hour away from Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Madison. And
Yep.
where I'm from, we don't have our own brewery, and I think that's something. We have like a million bar and grills, but we don't have our own brewery, and I think that would probably be pretty successful to do something like that, because I think a lot of it is just more like territorial. Like, people take pride in their community, so when you have these,
Yep.
when you have these breweries, people are going to flock there because they're like, yeah, this is, these are just hometown guys making beers for us and everything like that. And that's why I think there's so many of them, is just people take pride in it. And it's, a lot of micro breweries do fail because, they don't know how to run a business, which I probably wouldn't know how to do either. So I'd have to team up with somebody who's willing to take the risk.
Yep.
And then try to make it successful, market it enough to the people that drink it. But I don't know if it will ever go away. It's really picked up in the last 5 years even, and there's all these different events. We have our own brew fest, which is coming up in February where I'm from, and it's a lot of home brewers that come in, but there's also the microbrew, so like they get like Carbon 4, Toppling Goliath, and it's all Wisconsin-based breweries. But I don't know. I forget what the brewery was called, but I was talking to a guy from, I was talking to somebody from Carbon 4 one time, and they were saying they don't distribute outside of Wisconsin. It's all only in Wisconsin because there's so many other breweries that people are going to take, that are going to choose over Carbon 4, because if you're living in, like Colorado or something like that, they're going to tend to flock to the more Colorado-based beers than they would a Wisconsin beer. They might try it, and even though if they like it, they're not going to go buy it over and over. They'll try it once or twice, and that's why Carbon 4 only sticks to Wisconsin, and why it's so hard, especially with my podcast. I try to, at first we just stuck to Wisconsin-based stuff, but then I was like, well, if other people from across the country are going to be listening to it, they're not going to fly to Wisconsin just to buy a 6-pack or something like that. So I try to pick beers from all over where I can, but the problem is a lot of these people that have a favorite beer, in New York or in Maryland or something like that, I can't necessarily get unless they send it to me, because they don't distribute outside of that. So, craft beer to me is more of a experience in a journey than it is just pounding beers. If you want to just go out and get tanked, you're just going to go drink Budweiser or something like that. But like with what you're doing, you're creating the experience, and it might even give a person a reason to travel to Colorado or to Arizona or something like that, because it's such like not only is it a hobby, but it's it's a whole experience. You can go, there's websites where you can plan out just a week of going to breweries to places. So I think it's, I don't know if it'll ever die. I'm not sure. It's a good question.
Yeah. And kind of to piggyback off that, people take so much pride where they're from now, and I feel like a lot of brands, I'm sure there's one in Wisconsin, but there's like a clothing brand called Soda, and there's a couple other brands too that popped up, like Great Lakes, and these clothing brands, got the state of Minnesota on it, and people wear them all, got the hats, and people are just proud to be where they're from. And personally with me, I've got a tattoo of the middle of the Tennessee state flag.
Yeah.
and I'm proud to be from Tennessee.
Right.
And so like, tasting beer from Tennessee and, people, especially like, and I feel like the breweries that do make food, they always make really good food.
Right.
And a lot of their food, say like the pork or the beef is probably from like a local farm and
right.
stuff like that. They really try to keep the whole local thing going. And I think in the past with the brewery boom, people in the United States have really taken more ownership and are proud to be where they're from. And, I don't know. I don't really see that going away. I mean, some of the breweries that do shut down, I think, you look, I get the question a lot in Minnesota is like, do you think, there can be more breweries in the Twin Cities? And, there's some that open up almost every month, every other month. And I say yes, because you look at Denver. Colorado has over 380 breweries. Minnesota only has 180. Wisconsin has 220. Like, it can sustain it. The population of Minnesota is larger than Colorado. And they, it's kind of overtaking the local bars.
Right.
Where, because breweries a lot of them are family friendly. Bring your kids. They don't care. Bring your dogs. You can't really you can't do that to a bar and go, watch a game or something.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's like, it's even kind of like a sports mentality where, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a big Packer fan, a big Brewer fan. And of course, drinking is really in the culture in Wisconsin.
Yep.
People always post like, was it like the drunkest cities in the United States? And, Wisconsin, the cities are like usually 10 of the top 20 at least, and they're all in Wisconsin. So, which isn't necessarily a great thing, but, you take the ownership and just where you're from. And like, if I go to Illinois and I go visit some people or whatever, and then I see on the menu, there's a Wisconsin beer. It's like, oh yeah, try this out. It's all word of mouth too. And then when I went to Chicago one time and for a music festival, but we stopped at Lagunitas, which is a crazy experience. It was a really cool brewery. I really enjoyed it. And, that's something that you're going to talk about to people. Like and then you're at work or a friend, and they're saying, hey, we're going to go to Chicago. And you're like, oh yeah, definitely make a stop at Lagunitas, try their beer and everything like that. So, it's definitely ownership, and it's just a crazy community. And it's a cool community. It's a lot like the podcasting community. Everyone's trying to, give ideas and give suggestions on what to listen to, what to try. And that's definitely why I like podcasting a lot, and why I like the beer a lot though too, because there's always going to be one around the corner from where you're from pretty much, and something that you can try. So if I maybe once I get some more money or something and travel more, I'm definitely one of the top things I want to do is going to try the local breweries.
Yeah, just ask them all, and whoever wants to come on board.
When you buy one of these passports for if you happen to be in that state, or like you said, you can do the kind of like the dual states and everything like that. What do they get with this? Why should they buy it? Essentially, is what I'm trying to ask, I guess.
You should buy a hop passport because one, you're supporting local business. These breweries, and as you might not be much of a brewery goer, but if you end up getting one, one, it's going to let you travel your state, venture to places you might not have been to. That's one reason I fell in love with the one I had in the very beginning. And I actually finished the 2018 Hop Passport this past weekend. I went to all 46 locations.
Awesome.
In the 18 Hop Passport. And, but it's, I went to places like in Minnesota, Grand Marais. It's way up north. It's like a 6-hour drive, but luckily I have a friend that flies. It only took us an hour and 45 minutes. But no, there's a lot of other places like, Rochester, living in Minneapolis. I don't really, I don't know anyone at the Mayo Clinic. That's what Rochester's, they brings people in, but, got the adventure there in small towns like Dundas, where I believe that's where Chapel Brewing is. And, just go in the small towns, and it's not just supporting that local business. When you travel these places, you're going to be experiencing maybe the restaurants there, or you might find a state park that's close there, or some other attraction that's near that brewery. And that's what I hope for people to do with the hop pass, where it's not just go to the breweries, but experience the other places and the downtown or whatever you're into that might be near that brewery or on the way to that brewery. Because I feel like so many people get caught up in just their town, their city, and, experience more and see what's out there. It's one reason I call it a passport, is because with a real passport, you do travel and you get your stamps. So with this, you travel your state and you get the stamps at the breweries.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a pretty selling point for me when I looked at the one in Wisconsin. Granted, a lot of them are in Milwaukee, but Milwaukee, there's so much to do that you can actually, plan like a weekend getaway with somebody or with your spouse or with your buddies or something like that. And it actually gives you a reason to kind of experience this. Like the one I went to on Friday, I've never been to the Third Ward in Milwaukee, which is a pretty popular and kind of historic area. And had I not gone to a brewery there, I would have never gone there. But I checked out all these other spots too. So it's really, like you're saying, it's a full experience, and it's I think it's really cool. And I was definitely thinking about looking into the Minneapolis or the Minnesota one, I should say too, because not only do I have family there, so it gives me a reason to go see more family, and then it gives us something to do while we're there, checking out the restaurants, checking out all the stuff going on. I mean, Minneapolis, there's endless things to do. I went there, the last time I've been there was actually for a Packer game when Aaron Rodgers got his collarbone broken, so that was kind of a bummer. But
yeah.
But it was a really cool thing, and Minneapolis has so much stuff going on, and sometimes it's hard to pick, maybe if you are into the beer, what beer you want to go to. But you have this passport now when you're trying to hit those up and even make it like a little goal of yours. Like you said, you just finished yours up in later December. So that's, it's a year of planning. It's kind of things you can look forward to. So I think that's really cool, man.
Oh, yeah.
So what else do you have going on in your life? What else, you said you're from Tennessee and you moved up to Minnesota recently, or how long have you been in Minnesota?
On the 30th, it'll make 5 years. It's been 5 winters.
Okay. A little bit different.
You're from, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
This year's winters, at least where I'm at in Wisconsin, has been pretty mild, but there's been some brutal ones for sure.
Yeah.
So are you...
the first one...
Go ahead.
The first one was pretty cold. I was mentally prepared. Coming up there, I already had my jackets and that Christmas I got plenty of stuff to survive the winter. But yeah, it's been good. It's a good city. It's not too big. A lot of opportunity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean.
So
I haven't moved yet. So
right. How much more involvement do you have in the craft brewery scene? Do you homebrew or anything like that, or is it more just kind of a connoisseur of the beer?
No, I haven't homebrewed. I've wanted to. I've just been so busy, and I was working for a marketing company where I would leave. I was gone. Mm-hmm. Almost every month somewhere, going to New York City or California or Oregon or Florida or wherever they took me, Indiana quite a bit, worked some events at Notre Dame University. But I'm more, I would say personally, I'm not more of a, where I know the ins and outs of beer and all that stuff. I'm more of I love the vibe of breweries. When you go to a brewery, you're going there, a lot of them don't have TVs, and that's one thing I made sure I had in this new passport was, if you're a big sports fan, if it's Sunday and the Packers are playing or whoever your team is, that, you might be able to catch a game there at the brewery. But
right.
If you're on a date or you're on a, just you and your buddies are just having a good time. That's because when you go to a bar, you're more or less, it's a loud atmosphere, but brewery, you're with your company. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about breweries and the vibe. And, every brewery is different. And that's kind of forgot where that question came from. But yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely going there for more of the experience. I've had that. That's
That's
a similar. I've had that similar, feeling where, you can go to any bar and grill, and you can drink good beer, but even the brewery I went to the other day was called Broken Bat Brewery in Milwaukee. Like we sat in front of a guy who was canning the beer, and you got to kind of see the canning process just happen in front of you, which is pretty interesting. Yep. The vats and everything are right behind the bar there. So you get to look at the experience and look at the work that actually goes into it. And it's pretty interesting. I don't know like next to anything when it comes to like the chemistry of how you brew beer. We talk about it on our episodes and everything like that in the beginning and the end, but honestly, I don't really know too much about it. But it's definitely interesting to go take a tour and just look at the work that these people are doing, because these microbreweries, they're not a big corporation. You only have like a handful of people actually putting the work into it, and it is a lot of work. So it's pretty cool to kind of see that. And like you said, every brewery is laid out differently, and some serve food, some don't. The ones that don't usually kind of team up with food trucks and stuff like that. So it's really all about that independent local business that I really like about it. And you get to try all the different concoctions. Not every beer is the same, so it's a pretty cool thing. And I mean, the idea behind this is super awesome. Where do they get in touch with you, or how do they get to buy a passport?
So people can go on the website hotpassport.com and pick up a passport, or we have a lot of breweries. We have breweries in every state that sell them at their tap room. Okay. So I highly recommend that support those breweries that are on board, that are selling them. And you can go to our website, and you can, when you click on shop, you can go online, or you can go to buy in store, and you can see the list of all the breweries that sell the hot passports.
Nice. So when you go to these breweries, what's your kind of go-to drink? What do you like to do when it comes to the beers? Are you an IPA guy, ale guy?
Yeah, I would say I'm a seasonal person.
Okay.
Because used to, when I first started, I did not like IPAs.
Sure.
And I'd go to a brewery, and I'd ask the beer tender, be like, which, say if I'm traveling, I'm in California or Michigan, whatever, and I'm just like, hey, what's your most popular beer? Mm-hmm. And majority of the time, blah 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 IPA. I'd be like, oh man, and I can't say no. I don't want to drink it. So I just acquired the taste. And but no, I'd say right now, I mean, with it being winter, everyone's got their barrel aged beer, and I do like me some whiskey. So that's kind of my go-to right now. And when it's, in October, I want to try the Oktoberfest. And when it's summer, spring, more, summery, lighter, more, more IPA. But I would just say I'm more of a seasonal drinker.
That's a pretty rare answer, because every time I talk to people that, especially with the people that like the craft brews, it's all about the IPAs, and myself included. I too didn't really like it at first because it was too hoppy, but man, now I'm just a sucker for them. I love them very much. And if I'm always questioning what I want, I always start with the IPA. But yeah, there's definitely some good seasonals right now. We just had the Shiner Holiday Cheer ale last week, and I really liked it. It had some peaches and pecans in it too, so I thought it was good. But yeah, the IPAs, I'm a pretty much what they say, the stereotypical hophead is all about the IPAs. But I have a lot of stouts and porters in my fridge. My problem was I would always try them for the podcast, and I would buy 6-packs instead of just going and buying 1 or 2, which I do now. But I always like them, but I feel like you have to you have to be in a good environment and a good mood for a porter or a stout. It can't just be one that you're drinking while you're watching football or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It's much heavier. I totally agree.
And you can't have more than one. I don't know if I've ever had 2 porters in a row. I think I would probably be pretty bloated and exhausted.
Yeah.
But
for sure. But
yeah, man, that's once again, man, it's a pretty cool thing, and I'm glad we got to do this and talk a little bit. And you have an Instagram and your Twitter and everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Hot Passport on both of them. Follow us on Instagram. We, if you end up getting a passport, use our hashtag. We'll do our best to repost you, put on our story and whatnot. Mm-hmm. yeah, on social media.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, we can cut it, I guess, now. And thank you so much for being on here. We'll talk about it some more throughout the podcast. Once I pick mine up, we'll talk about it more, and we'll definitely try to get you out as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. And so also, if anyone listening today wants to purchase a hop passport, you can use the code Dudes with Brews. Use that promo code, and it'll save you $5.
Nice.
On your purchase. So, save you $5. So if you buy you a Wisconsin passport, only spend $20.
Yeah,
go to 49 breweries in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's definitely worth it. $20, you get to go spend a year traveling all the breweries in Wisconsin and enjoying it, man. That's awesome.
Sounds great.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Pew pew! Audio. Goodbye, everyone.